we're here to actually hear some amazing things, how to thrive in 2025 with Eric Feinendegen, who is a renowned speaker. He's done TED Talks. He's an accomplished author. He's provided seminars and helped people, their thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to results, which is why you are all here today, because we want to know, how are we going to thrive in 2025? Married for 20 years, 3 beautiful children, as I mentioned, accomplished author. He's owned multiple business, including Tasty Freeze right here in Lake Zurich, not to mention the other training companies that he's run. And he loves the freedom of both challenges that come along with business and being his own entrepreneur. He's going to share that with us today. I'm just going to read a quote which I thought was interesting, that his children said who helped him master his own mindset. So being a mom of triplets, 17-year-old triplets, I have never realized how wrong. Yeah. I'm sure you've experienced that too. So we look forward to hearing you today. Let's explore how our thoughts can shape our actions, those actions and interactions for a positive outcome. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. All right, thank you so much, Sharon. Yes, those of you that are parents in the room know that you learn a lot from your children, without question. It is great to be here. My name is Eric Feinendegen. I am super excited to share some thoughts with you. And speaking of excited, we made it into double digits, right? Can we get a round of applause for that? You know, I was watching the news this morning, and you see what's going on in Florida? We have more snow in Florida than we do here. So somebody always, in New Orleans, right? Somebody always has it worse. All right, we are going to thrive here in 2025. We're going to do that by talking about becoming a person of influence and mastering your mindset. Before we jump into that, I do want to thank our sponsors here, and if we can acknowledge them once again. Kay, if you could stand from Visiting Angels, let's acknowledge Kay for putting this together. And, of course, my introducer, Sharon from Cabby. Sharon, thank you so much. We appreciate that. One of my favorite quotes is from Oprah Winfrey. Speaking your truth is the most powerful tool that we have. And when it comes to speaking your truth, one of my truths is this: that you can have anything that you want in life if you become a person of influence. Now, that's a big statement. But let's explore that statement. Let's fast forward to the end of this year, 2025, December 31st. You're looking back and you're reflecting on the past 12 months. And you're thinking to yourself, for the first time in a long time, I accomplished the goals that I set out. I achieved them. That momentum that you have been craving, you experienced, and it took you through the obstacles of the year. And those invisible chains of doubt, anxiety, and that negative inner voice, those chains have been broken. I'm here to tell you that can be your reality if you become a person of influence. Now it gets even more exciting because now you have a plan. Now you have a repeatable process that can get you to that point, not just in 2025, but every year following. And yes, it gets even better because not only have you helped yourself, but you've helped others along the way. Sound good? Absolutely. And that is the goal of today's training, is to explore influence so you have a better understanding of what it is. Now, in order to understand this powerful concept, it's important to know that influence is leadership. Leadership is influence. There is no difference between the two. So throughout the training, I'm going to use those words interchangeably. Also, it's important to know that we increase our influence with others when we are intentional. So why do we want to increase our influence? Because the more we do that, the more impact we have. 90% of the success that you will have in your life comes from working with and through other people by using influence. The average person, you may or may not know this, influences, on average, 4 people a day. Now, what happens if we're intentional about using influence and that 4 goes to 14? And then that 14 goes to 40, or that 40 goes to 400 and above. Now that is creating impact, and that can be in your future. And of course, we want to have fun here this afternoon as well. You guys ready to have some fun? All right, let's do this. Expectations. I'm going to stretch you. I'm going to hopefully expand your thinking. And what's great about stretching your mind, it's like a rubber band. It never goes back to its original shape. We're changed forever. Also, this is going to be a supportive environment. We're going to learn together. We're going to grow together. You're going to learn from me. I'm going to learn from you. We're all going to learn from each other. If you have a question, feel free to ask. Hopefully, we can go ahead and answer that for you. And keep an open mind, because nothing is more expensive than a closed mind in a missed opportunity. There could be something that is said during this training that could change the trajectory of your entire career. Might be said by me, might be said by somebody else here in the seminar. But it's important to look back at history about what happens when people have a closed mind and an open mind. Mark Zuckerberg, when he was in college, he asked 5 people to look at a business opportunity. 3 said no. 2 said yes. History tells us that the 2 that said yes are now billionaires. And as we know, Zuckerberg is one of the most influential and richest people in the world. What is influence? Let's define it so we have the right context. It is the power to change or affect someone or something. Specifically, the thoughts, feelings, and actions of another. So let's peel that back a little bit. Look at what you're wearing right now. Look down at what you're wearing. Okay. There's a reason why you're wearing what it is that you have on. You were influenced. It could be the snow outside or the temperature. It could be, it brings out the color of my eyes. Or you had it on at one point and someone said, man, Jerry, that looks good on you. And you never forgot it, and now you want to wear it as much as you can, right? Well, and Sharon, you know how that is in your industry. Something influenced you. Now, I have 2 sons. One is a Milwaukee Bucks fan, so he loves Giannis. So what does he want to wear when he plays basketball? The Giannis shoes. My other son is a Chicago Bulls fan. So what is his shoe of choice? Air Jordans. They have been influenced. Let's take a look at some other examples of influence. If you're like me, you have a need for speed. You're driving down the road, you see that, what do? Immediately, yep, you hit the brakes. You've been influenced. Next is one of my favorite pictures. It's a really hungry dog right there. But it knows not to get too close. That skunk, and what could happen, has changed his behavior. Another one of my favorites. You see that $5 bill on the ground? If you're like me, look around. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick that up, right? Our actions have been influenced. So the question is this: why? Why do we want to influence others? And this is our opportunity to have interaction here. And if you've been to one of my other seminars, you know that I love to influence people with money. So if we can give an answer here, why do we want to influence other people? For a lottery ticket. Anybody? To help. Great. Go ahead and pass that down. Get a couple of more. Why do we want to influence? Yes.
Yeah, for our own outcome.
Okay, so personal gain, will that work? personal gain. And let's get one more. It feels good. All right. Feels good. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to take it another direction. Because without it, success is not possible. Without it, salespeople cannot move product. Without influence, managers, they could not motivate their sales force. Parents could not connect with their children. If we want to succeed, we have to influence. And remember, it's leadership. If you want to succeed, we must learn how to lead. That is why it's so important. I can share with you a couple examples of influence in action, how I saw this concept play out in my life. Let me take you back 20 years ago. I used to be a referee for basketball. I officiated over 3,000 games, but one game stands out in particular. I was at a gym just down the road from here in Deerfield, Illinois. It was about halfway through the first quarter, and the doors to the gymnasium opened up, and three individuals walk in, two flanking another much larger individual. And a woman on this side stands up and says, "Look, over there." The whole gymnasium stops, including myself. We continue to watch these three people get escorted across the court, up the stairs into a rafters that had been reserved. Now, when the person in the middle sat down, everybody else in the gymnasium stood up and gave a standing ovation. You may be thinking, who is that person? It was none other than the great Michael Jordan. When you can walk into a room, not say a word, stop time, and force a physical reaction, you, my friends, have influence. But my point is this: you do not have to be a sports star, a Hollywood celebrity, or someone that's famous in order to create impact. We do it each and every day by understanding others. It could be a coworker that may have some frustration as to what he or she might be doing on the job. It's by listening to a teenager who may be struggling with life. It could be showing empathy for a neighbor who might be going through a divorce or a difficult time. That is the essence of influence, creating positive impact for others. A more personal example is about my son. September 18th of 2023, my father passed away. September 19th, the very next day, I get a call from my wife saying that my son, who was 13 at the time, Ben, was on his way to Lurie's Children's Hospital with type 1 diabetes. His blood sugar glucose level was over 600. Normal, 100. As you can imagine, I was scared. So was Ben, and so was the rest of my family. But here's where becoming a person of influence is so critical. Because we met someone like that, Ben's nurse at the hospital. Her name's Barbara, who also has type 1 diabetes. And what she did for us, I'll never forget. She showed us empathy because she knew the journey that Ben was about to take. She nurtured Ben and listened to him. She took in what he was saying in terms of his anxieties, his fears. She listened to my wife and I. She cast a vision, let us know things are going to be okay. She let us know what to expect. And because of that, she gave us one of the most important things you can have in life: hope. You do not need to be a celebrity to give hope, to create a positive impact. The way we influence depends how long, how effective, and how many people we impact in our lives. I'm going to go through the different levels of how we influence, starting with the worst at the bottom and working our way up to the top. It's important that we understand how we go about doing things. The first way we influence which is the worst, is through force. It's the gun in the back. You have no choice in this situation. Let's move on from that. Then we go through intimidation, the finger in the face, my way or the highway. I grew up with Catholic schooling. Trust me, I had some nuns that put the finger in my face. Manipulation is the next way that we influence others. There's a winner and a loser. Bernie Madoff, he stole tens of billions of dollars by manipulating others. Now, it's important to know that the opposite of manipulation is free participation. And that's where we want to get to. Moving on, we influence through position, our title. You may have a fancy title or a boss. I'm here to tell you, and we know that just because you have a title doesn't make you an effective leader. Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. The leader makes the title does not make the leader. Look at Mother Teresa. She did not go to a C-suite office. She lived most of her life in poverty. She didn't drive a fancy car. Would you say that she's a tremendous person of influence? Absolutely. Next, exchange. That's where both parties win. Moving on, persuasion. This is where people follow us because they want to. But here's the catch with this level. We can get them to follow us, but can we keep them following us? And next, the highest level, people, they want to be around us. They want to follow us because of the standards that we hold for ourselves and the principles in which we live our life. Where does influence begin? Anybody want to guess where influence begins for a lottery ticket?
When you start breathing.
When you start breathing, absolutely. It begins with you, with me. And it begins in how we see others. So it starts from the inside. The best influencers, what they do is they look at people and they say, I'm going to put a 10 on your forehead. And I'm going to help you realize how important you really are. Because attitude is everything when it comes to having impact with others. You cannot get along with people unless you have a positive attitude. And know this, that people will not go along with you unless they can get along with you. Very important point. Let's take a look at the two-step influence formula. Now, if you understand this formula, you're on your way to creating positive impact in the lives of others. Step number 1, we have to see other people as valuable. Again, that 10 on the forehead. Most people, in my experience, can do this. Here's where the difficult step comes in, helping them realize their value. Why is that difficult? It takes work. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to have intentionality with it. I'm here to tell you, it's worth the effort. Picture your department, the people that you work with, the members of your family. If they all saw each other as people of value, and they intentionally acted and thought in a way to help others realize their potential and their value, would you agree with me that there is nothing that the people on your team couldn't do? Success would be inevitable. That is the power of this formula. Let's move into 3 phases of influence. And by the way, we're going to break this up into influence and then we'll go into mindset. So when you look at the 3 phases, the first is going to be having integrity with others. Second, understanding others. And third, believing in others. Let's jump into integrity. This concept, integrity, is the core to everything that we do. Because integrity leads to trust. And trust is the number 1 ingredient to having effective relationships. So we all went around earlier and we shared what industry that we're in. So once again, what industry are you in?
Home care.
Home care. Congratulations, you're in the relationship business. Your industry again?
Senior living.
Senior living. Congratulations, she's in the relationship business. And you one more time?
Once again, yeah, senior living.
Okay, senior living, relationship business, and pampered chef, correct? We are all in the relationship and people business. If people can rely on you as a person of integrity, they will want to do business with you. Integrity, let's define it, is a firm adherence to consistent moral and ethical standards. There's a reason why I have it bolded and underlined, because integrity is an all-the-time thing. We can't pick or choose when we act with integrity. The reputation that you have in the marketplace is everything to your brand. And if you ruin the reputation by acting in a way that it is not with integrity, it could destroy your entire brand and your business. We've seen recent examples, correct? Absolutely. We must act with integrity all the time. Now, this is a judgment-free seminar, but we're going to have a little fun here, as I mentioned. I'm going to go through some quick examples as to when our integrity is tested. Now, this is for your personal inventory. We're not going to share out loud, but I just want to go through some examples and see how we would all act when it comes to our integrity. You receive the wrong change at a grocery store. You go to the parking lot, oh, they gave me 19 cents too much. Do you walk back into Walmart and give it back, or you just keep going? Number 2, you're looking for a job. Do you embellish some of your responsibilities that you've done? Someone, Tobin, tells you a secret. Tobin, I got the juiciest stuff here, but you can't tell anybody. Right? Do you going, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what Alan just told me. Right? Do you keep the secret? Tax time is coming up in a couple of months. Do we inflate the charitable contributions? Use expired coupons? Do we work as hard at home as we do in the office, and vice versa? I'm a big golfer, not very good, as they'll tell you, but I love golf. Do you lower the score? Use the foot wedge. Give me a 4. Give me a par. And finally, are you on time? Do you say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say? Again, just some things to consider in terms of being consistent. This blew me away when I saw it. 1,300 executives were polled, and almost 3/4 said that integrity is the number one trait that we need to have to succeed in the marketplace. Because it all comes down to trust. Real simple. Trust, again, is the core to all relationships. And it's important to know that if you try and influence without trust, it will be considered manipulation. It is very difficult to get that trust back. In the olden days, being the biggest company used to be the competitive advantage. Now, in today's marketplace, your competitive advantage is who can build trust the fastest. Whoever can do that is going to win. All right, trust questions that everyone that you meet is asking themselves. Number 1, do you care for me? 2, can you help me? And 3, do I trust you? So how do we strengthen our integrity? Well, there's 3 ways. As we mentioned, you have to value people. If you can't do that, you got to look in the mirror and reconsider what's going on. Number 2, do I value myself? When we look at leadership, the most difficult person to lead is ourselves. Correct. We can't give what we don't have. So if we don't value ourselves, then we have to consider, okay, is there some personal growth that I need to go through? And finally, do I practice and model correct behavior for others? Because leadership is caught more than it is taught. People do what people see. We must show and not tell. I saw my 11-year-old son the other day spit on the ground. I said, Kevin, where'd you learn how to do that? He looked at me and said, by watching you, Dad. It was a reminder, people are always watching. All right, we'll end this with my favorite quote. You can have everything in life that you want if you just help enough others get what they want. Help them become a person of value. Second step in terms of being a person of influence is understanding others. The biggest challenge I see with leaders is they lead by assumption. They think they know that the people they work with, they think they know their customer and what it is that they value. But most times we don't. Remember this, if you want to grow your profits, you have to grow your people. But it is impossible to grow your people unless you know your people and understand them as well as your customers. Because you have to see what others see before they will see what you see. And that is the core of all leadership and influence. So we have to choose to see other people's perspectives. You can be looking at the same thing as well as somebody else and have two different realities, yes or no? Yes, that picture proves it. I'll never forget when I was 12 years old, I was in the back of my grandmother's station wagon. And we were driving down the road going eastbound, about 30 miles an hour, trailing a car in front of us. And then there was another car coming westbound the other direction. Now, the other car crossed the center line and hit the car in front of us. Now, it was only 30 miles an hour, so everybody was okay. But a police officer came and wanted to get a statement. So he came to me and he said, young man, what did you see? I said, oh my gosh, the car coming this way crossed over and hit the car in front of us. Then someone on the other side of the road said, no. It was this car that crossed the center line. Who's right? It depends on perspective. The questions we need to ask ourselves when it comes to understanding others. Where did they come from? We all had different backgrounds, beliefs, upbringings, cultures. We live in a very diverse marketplace in society. We have to understand where people came from. Where do they want to go? What does their future look like? We have to ask ourselves, what is their immediate need? We have to meet people where they are right now before we can take them where they want to go. Big mistake that a lot of leaders make. And finally, how can I help? How can I improve your condition? This past summer, I hired 8 college interns to work with me at my financial planning company. And if you look at the picture here, there's 7 of the 8 right there. Came from all different colleges, all different backgrounds. In the very first week that they started over the summer, I sat down with each one of them and asked them a question. Same question. Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And I was expecting similar answers. Well, to work here. Some of them were the same. Ella in the front there, she wanted to work in social media and do marketing. Okay. Charlie up here, up on the left, he wanted to focus on insurance. I didn't know that. Matt, standing there up on next to Ella right there, he wanted to be a full-blown financial planner. And then James right there, he was there because he needed college credit. And Max in the middle, he was there because his dad made him be there. All different answers. If we lead by assumption, we don't know where they want to go. Here's what we need to know about people. Everybody wants to be somebody. And nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Time for you to reflect. Go back in your childhood. What was it that you wanted to be when you grew up? For some of us, astronaut, doctor. For me, NBA basketball star. Didn't happen, but that's what I wanted to be. Here's the reality. It hasn't changed. We all still want to be somebody. No matter how old we are. When I was in college, never forget it, freshman year, my first roommate in college, his name was Marcus. And Marcus was a unique guy, nice guy, but he never went to class, didn't do his homework, stayed up all night partying. I'll admit it, he had a drinking problem. He didn't do anything he needed to do to succeed. Finally, we were having lunch one day. I said, Marcus, I'm just curious, why are you here? And he said, Eric, I don't want to be here. But I know that if I hang around long enough and get my degree, then one day my dad will think I'm somebody. Hit me like a ton of bricks in the face. We all have a craving to be somebody. See, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most companies stop here at the safety level. Great, you're going to work for me. Here's your paycheck. I'm going to give you safety with, monetary reward. Here's where you go from transactional to transformational, where you show love and belonging and build people's self-esteem. That is true influence in leadership. Now the transaction has traction. Transformational. Love this quote. The deepest desire in human nature is a craving, not a want, a craving to be appreciated. Because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. How can we show others how much we care? By active listening. This is a superpower in today's marketplace. And we may have heard that we're in the attention economy, which we are. If we want to get attention, we must first give attention. Because please write this down if you have something to write with. People will not hear unless they've first been heard. Real simple. Let me share with you a story about myself and my now 17-year-old daughter, Rachel. That is one of our happier times with me and my daughter, Rachel. As you can imagine, I'll be 52 next month. Rachel is 17, a teenager. We don't always see life the same way, correct? Would you agree with that? Absolutely. And there are many times where we butt heads. And I said, this has got to end. So here's what I said. I said, Rachel, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have dinner once a week. You pick the place, I pay. We both love burritos. There's a burrito place right around the corner of my office. And what we did every Friday night, we just have dinner together. And I made it a point to actively listen to her. How are things going at school? What's going on in theater? What are your plans for this weekend? And I got to tell you, just by sitting back and absorbing what she had to say, it completely transformed our relationship. I'm here to tell you, if you actively listen to the people that you love in your life and the people on your team, it will also transform your relationships. We have to listen first and speak second. We're going to go over believing, then we're going to go into mastering your mindset, and we're good to go. So, you guys still with me? All right, we good? All right, believing. We have a problem on our hands. We have an entire generation of people that are growing up right now that have less self-esteem in themselves than all previous generations. Just go to the high schools right now. There is a crisis in our schools, a mental health crisis. Kids don't believe in themselves. And when kids don't believe in themselves, they grow up to be adults. They don't believe in themselves. There is power in belief. Because when people believe in themselves, that's when they take the impossible and make it possible. I know this firsthand. When I was in high school, I was a good student. But there was one class that I just couldn't get, and that was social studies. I was on the verge of failing social studies. It was my sophomore year. I'll never forget it. And my teacher was an individual. His name was Coach K. He was a wrestling coach. I didn't wrestle, but he was the instructor. And I remember one day I had just finished taking an exam and I got a D, and he could see the frustration in my face. So he called me up and he said, Eric, I want you to listen to me. He looked me straight in the eye. He told me 4 words that changed my life. He said, you can do anything. You know, as a teenager who grew up without a strong male role model, my dad's paranoid schizophrenic, having that influence of someone who I believed in, who now in turn believed in me, literally changed my life and is the reason why I'm standing before you here today. That's the power of belief. When we believe in others, we can change your lives because the people who influence you are the people who believe in you. So let's dive into the facts about believing in people. Most people do not have belief in themselves. Most people need others to bear witness against their own inner judge. When I teach longer seminars, I'll do an exercise. And what I'll have people do is I'll say, go ahead and let's take a minute and list your personality strengths. And people will write down about 5 or 6. Then I'll say, okay, now I want you to list your personality weaknesses. And guess what happens? Thank you. 2, 3 pages long, dozens and dozens of weaknesses. Every time I do it, it opens my eyes to the fact that most people don't believe in themselves, and most people don't have someone who believes in them. A study was done of 20,000 adults, and close to half of them admitted that they struggle with feelings of loneliness and isolation. Now, when that happens, what do people do? They go online. They go to social media. And then what happens then? They have more feelings of loneliness and isolation. It is a horrible circle. Again, we have a crisis. Here's how we can change things. By remembering this example, it's the ice bucket example. And I love sharing it. It's where researchers, they wanted to predict people's ability to endure pain. So what they did was they had participants take off their socks and shoes and stand in freezing ice cold buckets of water. And as they observed the participants, they noticed there was one factor and one factor alone that allowed certain individuals to withstand twice as much pain as others. Anybody want to guess what that was? The one factor. Anybody? For my last lottery ticket. Doesn't have to be right.
Your mind?
Do you already have a lottery ticket?
Yeah.
All right. No, we're going to go. Okay. So yes, in the back. They believed, there we go. They believed they could do it. Very close. They had somebody standing right next to them saying, yes, you can. Giving them words of encouragement. Never forget this. Encouragement is oxygen for the soul. That is how you pour into people. Because when you encourage others, you build their self-esteem, which is the most significant key to a person's behavior. Because our beliefs drive our behavior. And if people believe they can do it, they're going to do it. And people can tell when people believe in them. Real quick anecdote on this. I'm going to show you this, Jerry. You'll appreciate this one. That's a picture of me and a woman named Liz Hudson. Now, Liz, like myself, she competed in the World Championship of Public Speaking. As you see in the flyer, I'm a 2-time finalist in the World Championship of Public Speaking. But Liz, when she entered the contest, had never competed before. A good speaker, but she was raw in a lot of areas. So she reached out to me, and I agreed to help coach her, along with the 2013 World Champion in Public Speaking. His name was Prez. And Prez would work with her on her delivery and content, and I worked with her on her mindset. Every time she had a negative thought, it was my job to override that thought. Every time she felt an imposter syndrome, anecdote come up, I was there to erase it. And Liz, in her very first year, made it to the finals of the World Championship. Unbelievable. But what was more unbelievable is what she said to me afterward. Again, my whole job was just to say, you can do it, repeatedly. Here's what she wrote back to me. Eric, you saw something in me and took me under your wing. You pushed me to my limit and well beyond what I thought possible. Because of you, I've grown. I've dug deeper than I knew I had capacity for. I put myself out there. This is what happens when you have someone so boldly believing in you. You start to believe in yourself. You want to change the lives of others, be a person of influence, believe in the people that you love in your life. You guys ready to switch to mindset?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take about 10 minutes to cover mindset, and then we'll close. And then if we have questions, we'll take 1 or 2 questions. Mindset. If integrity was the key to all relationship, mindset is the key to all success in life. I first learned about the power of mindset when I was working a summer job in college. One of my jobs was to sell extended warranties on auto loans that had been written for a credit union. I was on a team of about 12 salespeople. And our sales manager, what she would do every week is she would put on the wall the people who sold the most extended warranties and list everybody. And there'd always be someone at the top, someone at the bottom. The rest of us, like me, I fell somewhere in the middle. But without fail, week after week, it was always the same person who sold the most at the top and always the same person at the bottom. And I thought, why is this? So I walked over to the person who was always last. And I kid you not, he had a sign on his desk that said, "Sales is hard." Now imagine the negative programming. No wonder he's last. I mean, walking into that every day. So then I said, okay, let me go to the person who was first every week. She had a sign in a mirror on her desk that said, "Your next sale is 1 smile away." Now you see the difference in mindset? It wasn't about skill set, all mindset. It's Girl Scout cookie time, so let's add a little humor here. You call it eating 5 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. You may have seen this. I call it supporting young entrepreneurs. Thank you, Mel Robbins, for that. A shift in mindset. All right. We want to move from a fixed to a growth mindset. Real simple. When people have a fixed mindset, they believe that their blessings are limited, that problems are what they are, they cannot be solved, that your life is already pre-written. Well, why bother? When you have a growth mindset, you flip that. Blessings are abundant. Change is not something you fear, it's something you embrace and seek out. That for every problem, there's not only one solution, but multiple solutions. Quick antidote when it comes to the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. This is powerful. Researchers, I'm a big research guy, they wanted to see how animals would react when they were put in situations where they had to use their mind and they had to find ways to survive. So they took a mouse and they dropped it in a jar of water, filled the jar all the way up to the top with water, and they put it in a dark room. And they wanted to see how long the mouse would swim until it gave up and let itself drown. Again, it was a survival technique. So what they did, they put in there, they observed the mouse. It swam for about 3 minutes until it gave up. They saved the mouse, dried it off, let it live a good life. All right? Now, they wanted to see, okay, what happens if an animal, the mouse, saw possibilities, saw a future. So they did the exact same thing, but instead, now they put a light in the room and had the light shine on the top of the water. They observed a second mouse. The second mouse not only swam for 3 minutes, 36 hours. 700 times longer than the original mouse. Why is that? A shift in mindset. A shift in mindset. Skill set was identical because it saw possibilities. It had hope. That's the power. How do we make that shift? We embrace change. We change the questions we ask ourselves, we change our environment, and we change our focus. The quality of our questions lead to the quality of our life, and we have to ask ourselves better questions. People with a fixed mindset ask themselves this: why is life so difficult? Could this get any worse? Who do you think you are? Will my bad luck ever end? And why me? Can you see the consequences of that? Now let's move to a growth mindset. We ask ourselves, how far can I go? What can I learn from this? Why not now? What am I grateful for? And how can I make this work? My question to you is, where are you stuck in your life? Where are you in a rut? I'm going to encourage you to change the questions you ask yourself, specifically from a why question. So for me, I'm a horrible organizer. Why am I so bad at filing? They'll attest to it. That is a fixed mindset, a defeatist way of thinking. I'm going to encourage you to do what I try to do, is change the question from a why to a what. What can I do to become a better organizer? What resource sources or people are available that will help me get unstuck? Changing it from a why to a what question will change your life. We want to change our environment. The survival of all living things requires a healthy environment. You can have fertile soil, it'll feed a nation. You pour toxins in it, pollute it, they'll be devoid of life. Our mind is no different. We have to put our mind in a fertile environment. And I'm going to give a shout out to the Women in Networking group here. That is a fertile environment. If you have not checked them out, I encourage you to do so today. Change depends on your choices. Very quickly, ask yourself, in your environment, is the things you're listening to, music, lifting you up? What ideas do you have? Manifestation always has two components. Our ideas, the mental manifestation, and then the physical manifestation. But it starts with our thoughts. What experiences stimulate me? Are you engaging in those? Who encourages me? And of course, what activities give me energy? This is the kind of environment that we want to be in. So not now, but tonight, ask yourself, what 3 ways can you optimize your environment? I'm going to encourage you to change your focus as well. Big mistake I see a lot of people make is they focus on the wrong things. So if you're not getting the results that you want in your business and in your life, it could be a mindset issue. Are you focusing on the wrong or the right things? Mistakes people make is they focus on other people. They're too busy worried about what other people are doing, specifically on social media. They focus on what they don't want. We've heard the phrase, what you focus on expands. If you focus on ill health, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be in the hospital. If you focus on success, guess what's going to happen? Your mind's going to lead you down that road towards success in mistakes of the past. We want to reflect on the past and learn from it, but we do not want to live in it. So here's the fix. I'm going to encourage you to focus on startup or day one thinking, made famous by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. We must not see things as they are, but what as they could be. We must always ask ourselves, is there a better way? That is the focus fix. So day one tips, change your routine. Eat dessert first, once in a while. Second, always be the student. Continue to learn. Question everything in your life. Are there outdated beliefs that you're still engaging in? Don't do it alone. Collaboration will take you farther than anything, and change early and change often. I'm going to close with this. Don't wait. Growing up, I used to spend my summers at my grandmother's house, and she had a pool in the backyard. And I come from a big family. I had 22 cousins. So you can imagine those kind of summer gatherings. And we would all get together every summer and swim in my grandmother's pool. And everyone would have a great time, but me. Because I was the kid standing on the side of the pool, afraid to jump in, watching all my other cousins have a great time. I was scared of the unknown. Now, this went on for several summers until one day, one of my cousins, I still don't know who it was, pushed me into the pool, and I fell into the deep end. Now, I had a choice at that moment. Either start swimming or drown. Now, the fact that I'm here today knows you what choice I made. And I started, just doggy paddle, whatever. But eventually, I grew comfortable and then grew to like it. And now swimming is one of my greatest passions. I'm here to tell you, don't wait to get pushed into the pool. Don't wait to take that next step to becoming a person of influence and shifting and mastering your mindset. Because that person may not come along that's going to push you into the pool of life. Take action, and I look forward to joining you on your journey. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I think
Appreciate
that
it.
we can all say again, thank you so much for your influence. And we'd be interested to come back 6 months from now and see how we all measured up to each other.